Though we try to be masters of our souls and captains of our fate, it's the lucky ones who achieve their goals while others have to wait. Our destiny is mostly bought and paid for us. The really big decisions all made for us.
We're here with a legend, a true Yankee, Mickey Morabito. Mickey, talk to me about your days with the Yankees. How did Billy Martin come into your life?
Well, I had already been there working with the Yankees in the PR department when we hired him, and I think Bill Burden was the manager at the time, and we brought Billy. Had just gotten fired, I think, in Texas, and George, wanted to make an impact with a manager and brought Billy in. And the years he was there, we just hit it off. I mean, working, like I said, I was doing PR at the time for the Yankees, and I think being a little Italian guy from New York, and Billy, his Italian background and everything, we just became fast friends, and I think he trusted me with the media, helping him handle the media and everything, and we just became very close. And obviously when he got fired for the first time from New York and Charlie Finley hired him in 1980 to manage the A's, he asked me if I would come out and work with him in Oakland, and I decided to take a chance and do that, and been there ever since.
At the early stages, did you realize how special as a manager, how strategy-wise he was inside? Did you see that along the way that, hey, there's something special right here?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, if you look at Billy's history and the teams that he's managed, I don't think you can find a manager who immediately impacted teams the way Billy did. Every team that he went to instantly got better. I mean, he did it in Minnesota, his first job, and then Detroit, and Texas, and then the Yankees, and then coming to Oakland and back to the Yankees. Unfortunately, he burnt himself out after a couple of years, but his immediate impact when he got there, and the things I watched him do it in Oakland when he was stealing bases with Wayne Gross.
Billy Ball,
yeah, who wasn't even a fast runner. I mean, he was just over-managing all the teams. I remember Tony La Russa, Hall of Fame manager himself, told me that he learned when he managed the White Sox against Billy. He said he learned almost as much about managing as watching Billy manage from the other dugout.
Now, the players, a lot of the players, they said, Billy made the players better, a lot better. Did you see that, all around when you?
Oh, absolutely. I watched what he did with Ricky Henderson when he let Ricky pretty much gave him free rein to run and everything. And he let players have confidence because he told them that he believed in them. And I think that goes a long way to making a player, play better and improve.
Now, there was also another player that I'm sure you were around, Thurman Munson.
Right.
Your thoughts on Thurman? What do you remember about Thurman?
Oh, Thurman was the ultimate competitor. He was the ultimate, as they say, red-ass player. He was a grinder. He was out there every day, and played hard, cared about his teammates, cared about winning. Amazing player, really.
Do you think, you've been in baseball all your life. You should be. A lot of people say that you belong in the Hall of Fame, including me, that you should be in Cooperstown. Do you think that Munson belongs in the Hall of Fame?
I think the only thing that's hurting Thurman is his longevity, because he didn't play that long. Unfortunately, a horrible plane crash that took his life, and I think that probably affected the stats that he had. That they always look at numbers to see how many home runs did he hit and what was your career like that. So I think the fact that his career was cut short probably hurt him, but as a manager, though, as a catcher, I think watching him play every day, I would think could be a Hall of Fame catcher.
Now, getting back to Billy, your thoughts on Billy Martin. Does he belong in the Hall of Fame?
Oh, absolutely belongs in the Hall of Fame. And there are a lot of managers as contemporary managers. Like I said, I talk to Tony La Russa about that all the time.
And he's in.
And he absolutely, Bobby Cox has told me that he thought that Billy should be in. Cox coached for Billy in New York.
Yeah.
And so there's no doubt, like I talked about earlier, the immediate impact that he had teams. But people will say, well, he got fired 5 times, but that's other issues. But as far as managing on the field and affecting the game and making teams better, making teams win, he got criticism a little bit because they said, well, he couldn't manage veteran teams or he couldn't manage young teams. But that's ridiculous if you look at his history. He took a very a young team in Minnesota. He had a group of old players, Norm Cash, Al Kaline, guys like that in Detroit, and he won. He went to Texas with a fairly young team, and he won. Came to the Yankees with veterans, and he won. Came to Oakland with a very young team and made them win. So he could manage all types of players and all types of teams, and he proved that.
Now, I've always said that if Billy were around today, he'd make it to the playoffs every year with the semifinal that they have and the wild card and all that stuff. He'd be in the playoffs in every game.
He probably would if he could last in this analytics era that we all live in. Because I don't. Billy was one to use analytics. I mean, he would. I mean, the A's were one of the first teams to use matchups and stuff. And I remember one day, Roy Eisenhardt, who was our team president at the time, and Sandy Alderson, who was the general manager back then, sent a bunch of matchup stats down to Billy. And he took this pile of papers and threw them away. He said, I don't need that. I know what guys can do. I don't need numbers or that to tell me what a player can do. So managing in this day and age might have been a little difficult for a guy like Billy, for guys like the Slaughter, for guys like Jimmy Leland, the old Sparky Anderson, guys like that who just managed by their gut. Unfortunately, it's hard for managers to manage by their gut in this day and age with all the analytics and stats that they're given.
You think that's hurt the game, the analytics, because so much information implemented on a player that when usually it's just hit, run, catch the ball.
No, I don't think it hurt the game. I think it's good. I think it helps. But you have to take it, put it in its place. I think you still have to let a good manager manage by his gut because he's got a feel for the game. And not everything is a matchup. Not all the numbers are correct. So I think it has a place. But I think, you still have to let a manager manage the game.
Now, as a friend, I've read in his autobiography, #1, that Billy always demanded loyalty from his friends. Do you, as a friend, was he like that? That he was tight with his friends. When you were his friend, he was.
If you were his friend, you were there. I remember when he first came to Oakland, people that he brought in as coaches. That Willie Horton, who he had in Detroit, brought in as a coach. Eddie Matthews, who he knew, brought him in as a coach. The coaches that he's had for a long time. Art Fowler took Art Fowler everywhere he went with him. He was very loyal to his people. If you were loyal to Billy, he was loyal to you.
You miss Billy? I mean.
Oh, I miss Billy all the time. Yeah, I think about him a lot. And I mean, he was very instrumental in my career. Like you said, I had some good years in New York with him, and he brought me to Oakland. And I know when he got fired and went back to New York, he asked me if I wanted to come back. And at that point, but he knew I felt comfortable in Oakland, and he said, you know what, Mickey, you should just stay here. The ownership here likes you and everything. You don't need to come back and do that again. So he helped me out in a way. He wanted me to come back, but he knew what was best for me was probably to stay in Oakland.
How much true is there to the story that there will be, before he passed away, that he was going to come back to?
I've heard that too. I mean, those are probably just rumors. At that point, to be honest with you, as a friend of Billy, I did not want him to come back anymore.
Really? How
I think
come?
he was, I think the whole thing, 4 or 5 getting fired and everything, all those times and everything, I don't think it was good for his health and everything. So it's probably, if it would have happened, it would have happened. I don't know for sure, but just like you did, there were rumors that George was thinking about bringing him back again. Would have been interesting, but we'll never know.
Now, before I let you go, I got to ask you, that old timers day, when they brought him back, what was it like? I'm sure you being as close to Billy as you were, you knew what was going to happen.
Oh, absolutely.
How was that?
It was very strange. It really was. It was the whole Old Timers Day, bringing him back in front of the crowd, and when Bob Lemon was already the manager there, and saying that Billy's going to be our manager the next year going forward. It was very emotional, and I think Billy was overwhelmed by that. I don't think, to be honest with you, I don't think he expected that at all. But that was George. I mean, George was incredible as far as knowing the pulse of his team and what it needed, and he felt that Billy was the guy, the best guy to get his team managing, get his team going, get his team winning. And they were, no matter what you think about it, they might have been a love-hate, but they were together, George and Billy, and they probably needed each other. And
That's right. That's what I think.
It probably would have worked again if it happened.
Now, in today's game, if we were to put Billy, you said that you don't think he would have probably been able to manage for a long time because of all the analytics and all that stuff. But what do you think would have happened if he would have been coaching? Because I see so many managers today that they have to go to the car. You know, they're predictable.
Yeah.
You never knew what Billy was going to come out with, and he was 90% of the times he was right on the move.
I think he still would have been good. He would have needed a more of an old school general manager to give him the ability to manage the way he wanted to manage. You know, some of the general managers and baseball operations people that are out there right now, if they're so focused on managing this way, I mean, if Billy would have needed to be in a situation, a team, where he would have had the ability. Like I said, the analytics are great. You can use them, they can help, but I think you still got to have a manager have the ability to feel for his gut from time to time.
You think baseball is missing some in the sense that there's no characters like Billy, you know, Earl Weaver, the Thomas Waters of the world. It's so robotic going to a game now because you usually know what the outcome is going to be.
Well, you don't. The whole thing with replay with the umpires, there's no. You just mentioned all those guys like Lasorda and Lou Piniella and everything. The fans love that. You know, watching a manager go out and argue with an umpire.
That, you know, it wasn't perfect, but I don't know. To me, till this day, I don't understand why would they want to make the game perfect when nothing is perfect.
Nothing is perfect.
It was great the way it was. Why change it?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know what the answer is, to be honest with you. I totally agree with you. I think the human element in the game was very important. And I think the umpires were, they're human. They're going to make a mistake. They're not going to get every call right. But that was part of the game. You know, it was part of the game. You know, a guy blows a call at first base and manager comes out and kicks dirt and yells and screams and whatever. But the fans love it. Yeah. It's like hockey fights.
And till this day, you still, when you go to Yankee Stadium, you still see that number one.
Yeah.
You know, 30 years later, you see people still think about that's how great Billy was. And Billy is going to be baseball history. And till this day, I don't understand why he's not in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a real omission on the Hall of Fame's part. I don't know, you've got writers that probably say, well, he didn't last very long, and they bring up his off-the-field character, the drinking and the fights and everything like that. But that's kind of irrelevant. Just judge him on what he did on the field. And I don't think there's a manager better than Billy Martin as a manager, as a game manager. And that's what he should be judged on.
And the point is proven, your point is well proven when you had Lou Piniella, Buck Showalter, Willie Randolph, Chris Chambliss. They've all been managing,
right.
You know. So obviously there was something special about Billy that led them to be managers in their own right.
Yeah, absolutely. He created a
Bobby
group of people that coached for him and then have gone on to, they always say people have their little tree, people fall off, and so all those people, you know, worked under Billy and then went and got their opportunities to manage on their own. That's all because of him.
Mickey, listen, I want to thank you for your time and courtesy. And it's an honor to be next to you because Billy was one of my favorite, and till this day, I always, in December, I always think, man, 89, Billy passed.
December of 89, yeah.
I remember where I was, what I was doing. It's one of those things like 9/11, you know, when your first girlfriend and stuff. But I remember Billy every day of my life when I come into the stadium.
Well, thank you. It's nice of you to say that because we're two of us realized how important he is, what a good manager and good person he was.
Thank you for your time, Chris. Good luck.
Thank you.
And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friend, I'll make it clear, I'll state my case, of which I am certain. I've lived a life